Welcome to another episode of Plant Fanatics. Today we're going to be talking about propagation methods and which one's right for you, so stay tuned. Our social media platform has roughly 60 million views. That's a lot of views, and we get a ton of views on our sand propagation method, and I get asked the question all the time, can I root my apple in the sand propagation method? Can I root my citrus trees in the sand propagation method? And so I want to kind of clarify the different modes of propagation and which one's right for what. So let's start with apples and citrus. These trees are not typically propagated by rooting cuttings. We want to graft those trees because they're not going to readily root. I get comments in the comment section sometimes that are like, figs are super easy to root. And it's like, yeah, kind of, because that's how we want to propagate them. We want to propagate them by rooted cuttings. And there's other plants that go right along with that. Goji berries, elderberries, pomegranates, mulberries. Those are all plants that we can easily propagate via cutting. But things like citrus, apples, pears, we don't want to do that way. Cherries, while it's possible to do it, it's extremely difficult. And that's why most people don't do it that way. Those are types of trees that you're going to want to graft onto a seedling rootstock. Now there's things like we have these pawpaws back here, which are seedlings, and we can use these to graft on, or we could just leave them be because there's certain types of fruit that are going to have a good potential of turning out as a good fruit, even from a seedling. So the issue that we get into with growing things from seed is that a lot of seedlings do not come true to type, meaning, like right here, my citrus tree, I have a ponderosa lemon tree. If I grow this from a seed, there is potential that it'll be exactly like the parent tree, though chances are it's going to be a little bit different. It might have similar fruit qualities, but you take something like an apple that has extreme genetic diversity, you have no idea what you're going to end up with. You could have a beautiful, giant, tasty apple, grow it from a seed, and end up with a little tiny, minuscule, bad-tasting fruit that barely has any flesh. That's the amount of variability in those genetics. And so when it comes to growing things from seed, that's why people kind of steer clear of it, though I'm a huge fan of growing things from seed. Not everybody feels the same way. But to answer the questions, can you root an apple cutting in the sand propagation method? The answer is most likely not. That's not a tree that's typically propagated from cuttings. That's going to be a grafted tree. Same goes for citrus, cherries, pears, peaches, plums. Those are all trees that you're going to want to graft typically. I'm not saying it's impossible to root those cuttings. There are people that do it. It's a lot more difficult. And typically, if something is very difficult to propagate via cuttings, you don't propagate it via cuttings. That's why the comments, that we get in the video sometimes, like figs are super easy to do. It's kind of doesn't make sense. Of course it's easy to do. That's why we do it this way. So if you grew a fig from a seed, for instance, which is a different method of propagation, you have no idea what you're going to end up with. It might not be a common fig. It might need pollination. So I hope this answers the question. You guys do a little bit of research. Like, we have so many tools at our disposal. We have Google, we have AI, we have all these different things. All you have to do is simply say, are apples typically propagated from cuttings? Are they rooted from cuttings? And it'll say no, grafted. So do a little bit of research like that. I'm not trying to get under anybody's skin or be offensive in any way. I'm really trying to answer the question of why we don't want to root cuttings of certain fruit trees. So the sand propagation method does not work for everything, but it does work for anything that's typically propagated from cutting. And that includes fruit trees, that includes houseplants, that includes garden plants. So, go into your propagation craft remembering those things. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to get back to you. Leave a like on the video. Share with any of your friends who are thinking about this subject matter. And as always, check out theamericanfigcompany.com if you wish to support us. And thanks so much, guys.